Good evening, everybody. We're following Hurricane Helene like we have been all day. It made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane, strong Category 4 hurricane in Perry, Florida. You can see it's about halfway of the eye is on land now. We're watching some storm chasers down there that are actually in Perry. You can see the crazy winds and rain that they're getting down there. We haven't seen any storm surge yet, but I think they're making their way towards that area. It's just they're having trouble with all the downed trees and power lines and stuff like that. But
also, I have a lot of severe tornadoes out all over. So even if you're not down in Florida, they're spanning from Georgia to Virginia to South Carolina to parts of Ohio and parts of Michigan and Indiana.
right, we're currently seeing tornadoes and tornado warnings in Columbia and Hamilton, Florida, which you can see the purple box up there on the Tampa radar just above the eye wall. Also in Chatham, Effingham, and Hampton, Georgia, we currently have tornado warnings, and we also have tornado warnings in Allendale, South Carolina, and now they're even extending up as far north as Virginia, Franklin, Roanoke, and the city of Roanoke are all under a tornado warning as well.
Hey, that wrench didn't show up.
Screven County, Georgia also has a tornado warning as well. So we're going to continue to watch this. So far, we're not seeing any rotational information or rotational activities, but we're still watching these warning areas so just in case we do see a storm pop up.
And we have the eye happening about right now.
Yeah, the eye's about halfway on land now. We have the storm chasers down at the bottom. You see they're in Perry, and the eye's about over them right now. And it should pass them in just a second. You'll see it calm down, and then you'll see it pick right back up again. So we're here for you. We'll make it through this storm together, but we're glad you're here. We love our fans. If you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you very much for being here. Good evening, everybody. We're still watching Hurricane Helene. It came on land at Perry, Florida. It's been a long day. We've been streaming all day long. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. It came on land at Perry, Florida. And you see the storm chasers down at the bottom there. They're in the eye of the storm. The eye is in the process of passing over them. Right now, it came on land as a Category 4 with 146 mile per hour sustained winds. They're still sticking with the storm surge to be between 10 and 20 feet in this area. Of course, they're not near where the storm surge will be, but so I'm assuming we haven't seen any information on that at all. So, as far as how bad the storm surge is down at the beach, but they are a little bit farther in Perry. So it came in 146 miles per hour. We are getting a lot of tornado warnings as we have all day long. Let's go over some of those right now while we're here. We've got in the South Carolina area, we've got Aiken and Barnwell. You can see we have tornado warnings there. We zoom in, we got some nasty storms there, but we're not seeing any rotation in that area right now. So currently it's just a tornado warning, meaning conditions are right for it to happen. We do down near Hilton Head Island are seeing some rotation. No confirmed tornado and no tornado warnings down there yet. All that means is that conditions are very good there for a possible tornado. I'm sure a tornado warning will probably pop up in that area, but they've been going up and down in that area all day. Savannah, Hilton Head. So we only had one tornado. Well, we had two tornadoes that were confirmed. We had one in Earhart, South Carolina, up that you can see I'm pointing at now. That was this morning, and we had one around Broxton, Georgia, this afternoon. So we are still watching those areas, and we'll see if they have any rotation. Now we'll switch over to Georgia. Get an idea. We have tornado warnings in Johnson and Washington, Georgia. I need to update my warnings on the screen, but I'll do that in just a second. Those just came up. We're seeing those are more up towards Augusta area. They're kind of in line with those in South Carolina, as you can see on the radar. Also in Georgia, Screven, Allendale, and Hampton also have tornado warnings. It must all fall within that box. Earlier, just a little bit ago, dropped off. We had tornado warnings as high as Virginia. This storm is huge, a huge storm. They're predicting it going through Atlanta. Sustained winds supposed to be 60 to 70 miles per hour by the time it makes it to Atlanta. So with rainfalls they're predicting, which I'm sure they're overshooting this a little bit, maybe not. We'll see. As you see them in the storm, when they get out of the eye, there's been pouring down rain. So they're saying they'll get 10 to 15 inches of rain in Atlanta and upstate of South Carolina.
And I also think we're gonna have. My guess right now is easily 10,000 people in the state of Florida without power.
Well, right now they're reporting 700,000 people without power in Florida. So,
oh, that number changed a little bit. I'm still technically right. There's going to be 10,000 people without power.
Now that's the number I'm getting. That could have been skewed or something like that. I don't know. I just looked it up on the power company's webpage, so I haven't checked it here recently.
And for those that want to follow different websites that show hurricane radars or, hurricane maps, I'll be the first to admit I don't know much about meteorology and weather systems. So, when I was trying to do my research to help Tony out with this, I didn't know what the different terminology meant. I don't know what the MB means when they're flying through the storm. I also thought GFS, which is a map or something, Tony will explain it, but I didn't even know what that meant, and I got that one incredibly wrong.
So she thought it was what, Global Food
No,
System?
Gordon Food Services.
Gordon Food Services, when it's a GFS model, it's a global something model. It's definitely
forecast?
Global forecast system, I think is what it was. Not Gordon Foods, whatever.
I didn't know why they would be in charge of you know, a weather thing, but we're thinking about doing our own Waffle House alert system.
Yeah, I'm thinking of having an overlay for maps because if anybody that's familiar with the South, the Waffle House alert system, if they shut down the Waffle Houses in your area, then you know everything's about to hit the fan. And they shut down the Waffle Houses around Tallahassee, so that's new when we knew this was going to get real. So we're continuing.
It's going down.
Yeah, we're continuing to watch all this. I'm trying to put stuff up on the screen, keep everybody up to date. We also have the scanner going for the Perry area, so we can kind of hear what the police are saying at the same time. So we're continuing to watch this, and we're going to be here for a while. We'll be here as the storm continues, watching for tornado warnings and stuff like that. But we're glad everybody's here. We love all our fans. We thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, just let us know in the chat, and we'll be glad to answer them. Thank you all for coming. Welcome in, everybody. We're following Hurricane Helene. Came on shore, just to update everybody, came on shore around Perry, Florida, a little bit ago, about an hour ago. You can see the eyes that's moving across. They're in the storm chasers that we're following. You can see they're in the eye right now. That's why it's calm there. It's surveying some of the damage. You see that canopy down at the gas station and some fascia coming off of buildings and stuff like that. So it hit land 146 miles per hour sustained winds. So they're sticking with storm surges. We have not seen any storm surges yet. They're staying away from that area because of flooding. But theoretically, they said it's going to be 10 to 20 foot of storm surges. So Helene's a big, big storm. It came in raging.
She's a big bitch.
She is a big bitch. So it is a big storm, and we're seeing tornado warnings all through South Carolina, Georgia, even far north as Virginia and Kentucky tonight, being spawned by the different arms coming off of the hurricane. She is predicted to go through Atlanta. They're saying the sustained winds when the eye goes through Atlanta will be 66 miles per hour, which is huge for going that far across land and still having that strong a wind. And they're predicting rainfall between 10 and 15 inches for Atlanta area through the upstate of South Carolina. So it is doing a lot of damage. I put up for everybody the electric providers for Florida and the breakdown of how many customers they have out. It's around 700, 800,000 people without power in Florida right now. So
this hurricane, she's a baddie. She's definitely a baddie.
Yeah, this is a really bad storm. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, it's spawning tornado warnings. We've only seen 2 confirmed tornadoes today. One was in Earhart, South Carolina, and one was in Broxton, Georgia. But we've been chasing tornado warnings all day as Helene was making her way towards the coast. So you can see in the radar there, the entire eye is all out of the ocean and over Perry, Florida right now. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly she does lose strength or not. They're thinking it's not going to lose strength that quickly. If it had more time, it would very easily gain more strength. I think in a Category 5. It just ran out of room.
So now we're gonna be seeing that. Right now we're seeing the eye wall, and the eye is starting to come in, and then right after the eye, we don't know how much more damage there's gonna be. It could get a little bit of a boost, but it could also turn and hit a second time, so to say, like the previous one did.
Right.
And there is a second hurricane. It's not easy to see right now because I don't think it's really formed, but there's a second hurricane right behind this bitch.
Yeah, they were thinking at one point they may end up combining, so there's a chance that hurricane does form behind it. There could be a second hurricane that comes through this area, so we'll continue to watch that. But we're glad everybody's here. Again, I'll go through the radar and check for see where we still have tornado warnings. Okay, we've lost all of them. We're down to just tornado warnings in Johnson and Washington, Georgia. We're not seeing any rotational indications in that area, but there's still a warning there. So right now we're kind of down on the tornadoes, but I have a feeling we do down near Statenville, Georgia, which is right at the Georgia-Florida line. We do see some rotation down there, so I don't know. There's not a warning there. It's over by Valdosta, so we'll continue to watch that area as well to see if that turns into anything or not. It just means conditions are right there for a tornado to form. So we're watching the storm chasers as they have on the scene there, so we can you can kind of give you an idea of the damage and what the storm looks like. So we appreciate everybody being in here. We'll continue to ride out this storm with you. We'll make it all through it safely.
If it gets a little slow, we might do some GTA.
Yeah, if it gets a little slow, we might play a little Grand Theft Auto. So we'll see. But we'll continue to watch it. We're thankful for everybody being here. We love our fans. If you have any questions, just let us know in the chat. If you have an area you want us to look at, we'll gladly do it. Thank you for everybody being here. We'll come back in when we have some more news. just as an update, we're gonna come in. We heard a little. We've heard reports of storm surge in like where is it?
Cedar Key.
Cedar Key, Florida. That there's several hotels that are underwater from the storm surge. So
Well, it said far away motel, so it could be that it's one level. But still,
it's even if it's one level, we're talking 10 foot of storm surge.
And nobody can get to the area where the storm surge was the worst.
So it's sounding like, of course, nobody, these storm chasers can't get to the coast or by the beach for a storm surge. So it sounds like some of the storm surge rumors that they were predicting may be coming true. So just wanted to break in and let everybody know that some of the we have no confirmation of that. That's just a rumor that we're hearing. So just kind of an update about the storm surge. I want to kind of give you an idea of what people are saying. So we'll come back in as soon as we have something. welcome in everyone. We're still doing continuing coverage of Hurricane Helene, who came on about 10:30 tonight, made landfall in Perry, Florida, with sustained winds of about 146 miles per hour. We're currently, the eye is over Perry, Florida right now. The storm chaser that you see the video of down there, they are in Perry right now, and the backside of the eye is about to pass over them. Did some research. The high tide is also coming up in the Perry area at 12:16, so expect a higher storm surge and a lot more water coming in before when high tide gets here. So we are hearing rumors that there is a hotel in Cedar Key that is underwater, and we don't know any details about the hotel or anything like that. That is the rumors that we're hearing. Of course, nobody can really get that. They're not letting people get that close to the coast, so you can't really see the storm surge, but that is what we're hearing. You can see there's a good bit of damage in Perry, just wind damage to canopies at gas stations and signs and stuff, trees and stuff like that. Currently we don't have any tornado warnings. We'll keep an eye on that as they pop up. We'll let you know. I'm sure they will start popping up again as it gets further and further inland. So we thank you for being here. If you have any questions, just let us know in chat. We appreciate all our fans, and we don't just do extreme weather. We also do breaking news, manhunts, stuff like that. So if you like this, please come back and join us. There's a little more to talk about when you're doing something that would be a crime than a storm, but I don't want to drive y'all crazy by repeating the same information over and over again. But if y'all have any questions, feel free to let us know, but join us so you can give us a like and subscribe and turn on notifications for when we're doing manhunts and stuff, and we're glad to have you come back in and listen to it while we're doing that as well. Thank you all for being here.
East Sewer Treatment Plant on 62nd Avenue Northeast. They had said earlier tonight if storm surge reached over 7 feet, they would have to shut that plant down. And the reason for that is to protect the facility operations there, and that means that people who live north of 30th Avenue North and east of I-275 and Haynes Road means they will not have access to taking showers, flushing the toilet. Because of right now, they're asking people do not drain any water in your sinks, in your bathtubs. That will cause additional drainage issues for this plant. Once they can investigate the problem and fix the issues, once they turn it back on, it will still take a minimum of 48 hours before people can get their water back. But right now they say in terms of the water services, just refrain from taking showers, flushing the toilet. Drinking water is still available. That's the main update that officials wanted to get across to residents who live in that area. And for right now, the police have been out here stationed. They were near the pier earlier today, and throughout the night, they have steadily moved up as the water has continued to rise. The rain just picked up here a few minutes ago. It's been dry for most of the night out here, but the rain did just pick up. But the main story right now is the floodwater is continuing to rise here. And that is the main message right now. And officials want to make sure that everyone is taking the precautions seriously and making the right arrangements to make sure everyone is safe out here. That's the latest right now here in downtown St. Pete. Reporting in downtown St. Pete, Jordan Bowen, Fox 13 News.
Jordan, thanks so much. In the meantime here, we do have more video coming in from some of the flooding, some of the damage here. I want to put this tweet up as well. This is the Pasco County Sheriff's account. They say approximately 40 people have been removed from rising water along the US 19 corridor with the assistance of our partners at Pasco County Fire Rescue. Rescue boats continue to be loaded into the water to continue answering rescue-related calls for service here. Also, we have some new video in. Let's move a little further north there in Georgia. Fox 5 Atlanta's Rob DiRienzo, our friend there, he has this video. Let's show that if we have it, of some of the impacts being felt there in Georgia. All right, he says, oh, wow. He says this beaver in northeast Atlanta decided to make use of the flooded roadway to go for a quick midnight dip. Take a look at that. So the wildlife is rearing its head here in this. You just saw that. Also, Rob has this, that Hurricane Helene is moving fast toward metro Atlanta. He says already we're seeing substantial flooding near Peachtree Creek, which looks like it's getting close to overflowing. So continuing to show you more and more of these new pieces of video just to get an extent of the flooding, of how much rain has fallen, of how strong the winds are, of the storm surge itself. In the meantime here, that is all the natural effects of Helene. Let's talk about the human effects of what Helene has wrought, and I'm talking about the response going forward by local, state, and federal officials, particularly where does FEMA's role come into all of this? Let's talk to former FEMA official, our friend Mark Naveau. He's standing by. Mark, good to see you here. You and I were previewing what this storm could look like last night. We now know what it looks like. Mark, from the contours and characteristics of Helene, is it how you thought it would go as a hurricane, as a storm? It made landfall as a Category 4, or did it surprise you from when we last spoke, just this time last night?
Well, it's unknown, and that's the reason I say that. And this is not uncommon in these types of, you just don't have enough people out, and you don't want them out looking around. It's dark. We'll know tomorrow morning, as people have said, what the extent of this damage is. However, what we do know, and this is important, in a hurricane such as this, what we look for is catastrophic events. In other words, is there a major hospital on fire? Or is there something, of great concern that we've got to send resources to? Absence of that, then we just kind of wait and we try and get information through emergency communication networks. And to your point earlier in the hour, you talked about Pinellas County. And what I'm hearing coming from Pinellas County is very disturbing. They've got great impacts there. And I'm hoping I am wrong, but I think that's going to be an example of what we're going to see tomorrow morning when we wake up and the sun comes up.
So, Mark, I had to ask, we were talking with some of the energy utility providers in the state of Florida last hour. They have the technology, the know-how, the resources to almost in real time get people's power back on, even in the midst of a hurricane. I was surprised by that, but they got their work cut out for them. More than 1 million people in Florida right now are without power. But these utilities, with the help of state and federal resources, they are prepared for this days, if not weeks in advance, are they not?
As best as you can be. And the analogy I use for the power companies are the wildfires in California. The mutual aid system amongst fire departments in California is bar none the best in the world. And the power companies are very similar to that in their ability to move power trucks and personnel to different locations to get out there and help. Now, the challenge is going to be, I think, last I heard, there were some 5,000 or 10,000 personnel, a number of trucks, and we're talking in the thousands on the trucks to be able to get out there. But you've got to clear the roadway. And so the plan of operation that comes is what's known as hub and spoke. That's what they're going to use as soon as the hurricane winds pass and they can get out there safely. They've got crews hunkered down in hardened buildings throughout the state, and they're getting ready to go as soon as they can.
You know, Mark, I also wanted just to talk about some of the impacts that we are, to your point, going to see when the sun comes up. I think people who don't live on the Gulf Coast, in the Southeast, in Florida, in the Carolinas, here we're obviously beaming in live from the West Coast. When they hear storm surge, obviously it's a huge wall of water that is ginned up and strengthened by however strong the storm is. In this case, Helene being a Category 4 here. Is there any preparation you can do to thwart such a highly anticipated, highly projected storm surge, upwards of 15 to 20 feet? I mean, what do communities do to mitigate the impacts of something that high, huge wall of water coming their way?
Yeah, difficult. What they try to do is sandbag and prepare infrastructure, sewer plants, electrical, things of that nature. But to your point earlier, a 15-foot kind of creeping wall of water coming in is very difficult to be able to do any preventative measures other than to protect certain areas. Now, keep in mind that when that water's coming in, there's rain falling down inland too. So not only is that water coming along surface streets, you can't, the groundwater and the rainwater cannot get out from the drains. So you have a compromising situation in two different facets. That's what makes storm surge so dangerous.
So, Mark, you and I talked yesterday, and I had asked you on the spectrum of these threats that a Cat 4 hurricane brings, what is not as important and what is the most important? And I was talking about the threats they bring, like the torrential rain, like the storm surge, like the high winds. 140 miles per hour sustained wind speed, Mark. That's what Helene brought when she made landfall here. You said they're all important. There is no degree of difference here. Are we seeing that tonight?
Yes. There are differences in the sense the Sapphire scale they use to determine the category of hurricane 1 through 5, 5 being the worst. This is a 4. No question about that. High winds, knock over trees, knock over power lines. But in many cases in our country, some of the more devastating hurricanes have been those that have torrential rainfall because the hurricane just hovers over a geographic area and dumps tremendous amount of rain. On the other hand, it's ones like this where they're coming and the band is so wide, so large. We're talking about 500 miles across. All that geographic region getting hit with high winds, falling trees, a tremendous amount of storm surge coming in. So it's the combination of that. And most people lose their life during the storm surge than anything else. So that's the challenge here. It doesn't necessarily have to be a high numbered hurricane, but it's all the other circumstances that come with that hurricane.
You know, Mark, I always ask you this, each and every natural disaster that you help us make sense of, that we bring you on here when evacuation orders in place for so many thousands of people in harm's way here. Is it too early to ask this question, when people can start going home? I mean, I'm going to borrow my friend Ian Oliver's line here that he said on Fox Weather. We're not even to halftime yet in Helene's path and trajectory and impact. So should I even be asking that question, or should I? When can Floridians who were under these evacuation orders expect to get to go home?
Here comes the challenge. It's a great question because it varies by location and how much rain, wind, down lines, down trees, the infrastructure is not operating. All that's part of it. What I would advise people is stay where you're located right now, certainly until daylight, so you can see what's around. You don't want to be wading in water that's got hazardous materials or animals or reptiles, or even worse, power lines that are down energizing that water. So what we advise people is stay where you are until daylight. Then once daylight, you can take a look out, you can listen to your local officials. They'll give you an indication which zones that are able to go ahead and start to move about. But I say sit tight. If you're evacuated out of those areas into a shelter or away from the storm, just wait till that storm passes. There's no need to get in there, 4 or 5 hours earlier. If you just wait, be safe, work it.
So let's talk about where FEMA comes in and what FEMA's response is going to be like, because we heard from Governor DeSantis and Emergency Management Director Guthrie. They said that people are going to lose their homes and people are going to lose their businesses. They're going to lose their vehicles here. What recourse do they have, federally speaking, to get back on their feet when they assess whatever has happened? God forbid they have lost their home. They have lost everything here. What next for them?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, let's hope that's not the case for very many people. We know some are going to be in that boat, no question. But what is happening is FEMA's already on the ground. They got urban search and rescue teams. They got, meals ready to eat. They got cots. They got diapers. They got water. They got sleeping bags, all staged to support the state and get those out into pods, points of distribution in different parts of the county to help people. As daylight comes about, they'll start doing assessments, damage assessments, taking a look at how extensive the damage is. If it is extensive, they can do what's known as a declaration by zip code. They'll take a look at it. They'll find out that the damage is extensive, much more than the state can handle. It will go through the FEMA chain to the President of the United States, which at that time, most likely, he will sign a major declaration, which will then open up assistance for individuals. They'll start to open disaster recovery centers in neighborhoods. People can go there and talk to them about what services are available, and all the agencies come together under one roof in those neighborhoods.
Yeah, Mark, you and I discussed yesterday the preemption on the part of state and federal officials by declaring disaster emergencies before the storm hits in order to have all their ducks in a row here. And we just have to kind of highlight and acknowledge Florida knows what they're doing. They have a playbook. This is an art form and a science to them in responding to these massive hurricanes. Yes, each and every storm is different. They have each their own paths that they take and the communities they wreak havoc on. But the response itself, there is a rubric for it, right? And we're talking about it.
Yes, absolutely it is. They're very good at it. Some of the bigger states that deal with this quite often, they are very good at it. There's no question about that. It's a compliment to the governor and the emergency management staff and the coordination between the FEMA folks, local, state, federal working together. No question. And they've got that playbook bound. We talked about it, hub and spoke. That's what they're going to do. As soon as daylight comes up, they're going to start clearing those roads, letting police, fire, ambulances getting in there. They'll have power companies getting in there. They're going to be doing assessment of, the electrical underground, the water treatment plants, the sewage plants. That's what they're going to be doing. And to your point, they are good at it.
Okay, so Mark, you're looking at this live vantage point we have. This is in Hillsborough Bay, Florida, not too far from Tampa. When you see a live picture like